Now, my question is to Dr. Simiyu in regards to women and hygiene. Of late, there's been a trend on social media. I think we've been seeing, first of all, a lot of waxing places, coming up, and I think these days, if you shave, you are an outlier. Everybody waxes, and so we see these parlors that offer these services usually give something called a vagatio afterwards. I don't know how many of us have heard about that. And so it's essentially where they steam your vagina. And I mean, I'm a medical doctor myself, but I've always been torn, and I wonder, it's not douching per se, because you're not really inserting anything into the vaginal canal, but then you're steaming, it's applying direct heat to the private part. And what exactly does that do to the pH? Is it something that we should be doing? And on top of that, even after you find that when people wax, then the ladies also remove ingrown hairs with instruments, and I mean, it's a lot. So I just wanted to find out from a gynecological perspective, is it safe?
Thank you for that. Sorry, let me add on to that. The same places offer a lot of, imagine, there's one yoni piles and things that you sit on this chair, it has a hole in the middle, and then you steam yourself, which is different from the vagatio, because the vagatio, the steam goes to the labia majora top part, but with the one for sitting, the steam comes from underneath, and you basically open. So maybe also comment on that. Yeah. So that one goes into the vagina. Okay. Some interesting things. I think I've not heard about that one before, but I will comment on it. Thank you, Dr. Fatma. So, first of all, I'll comment about shaving. Shaving is something that actually we discourage. I know that it's more of the traditional way of clearing the excessive hair, but the problem that we've been having, and which I commonly see as gynecologists, is something called folliculitis, which basically means that you shave the same way that men shave their beards, and then they get the bumps, and sometimes it can get infected. So we try to discourage the actual shaving, with blades, just because there's a high risk, especially of shaving down below, that you can get the infected, hair follicles, which sometimes can cause very severe abscesses, which is like boils down below, which may need surgical intervention. So now going to the waxing and all those nice things that are coming up nowadays. We don't generally discourage waxing because most of the time it's happening around the labia majora, the outer portion, not the inner portion. So waxing is okay, I would say. The issue of vagations is that I don't know how long these vagations have been there in terms of the steam, but it is a good point, because the moment you're doing steaming inside the labia minora, the smaller part of the labia, and especially the one that Mama Mudoni about sitting, the main thing for me is, okay, these things are being done. The most important thing is, number one, hygiene in that area. Whether it's whatever type of method is being used, we have to make sure that it's a place where the standards of hygiene are acceptable. I know sometimes that may be difficult, but also just based on how many people have done it there, what are the statistics? Because sometimes we do get situations where somebody has gone for all these things and they come with infections. And the problem with infections and vaginal infections is that whatever is down below can go up inside your body. So inside your uterus, inside your fallopian tube, and it can go into your urethra and cause also urinary tract infections. So the first thing is, before doing any form of thing down below, you have to find out, am I being hygienic? Is the services I'm being offered hygienic? The equipment that they're using, are they disposable, or are they going to repeat them in other clients? That's the first thing. About the steaming, I would not recommend it, just because of the same principle of the pH balance. The pH balance is very important in women. Whenever you have any change in pH vaginally, then that will automatically predispose you to getting infections. And the problem with these infections is that they can be very persistent and very bothersome. You can get situations where someone, you're getting recurrent infections every month, every 3 months, every 6 months. And it can be difficult to treat even on our end. So I would not recommend the steaming, and particularly the one that there's any form of insertion and any form of involvement of the vaginal walls, just because of that risk. Some of these things, we like to practice based off of evidence, and some of these things have not really been well studied, but there are things which we can extrapolate based on the knowledge that we have, and so, I would not recommend to have any form of steaming down below. But for anything to do with waxing, I think it's fine.
So basically anything in the labia majora, good. So even the steaming of the labia majora.
Yes, I think ultimately depends on, you see, the challenge, the challenge that is there is, it's difficult to isolate and say, I'm only going to steam the labia majora. Myself, I've not gone, but I imagine that, steaming and saying only I'm going to steam labia majora, it becomes a bit, I don't know how they do it. I don't know if you understand what
I get you, especially I think dependent on the shape and whatever of your labia majora.
Exactly.
Because for some they are open.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I would say,
What do you feel shy the scientific terms?
For the things which are not absolutely necessary, then I would say, better to err on the side of caution. Yeah, because of the risks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Simia.